everyone, my name is Lata and my topic is about the functionaries of urban and rural local self-government. So let's start the PPT. Thank you. In this video, I will explain about the functionaries of rural and urban local self-government. And my name is Lata and my roll number is 18/0834. First of all, we should know what is local self-government. So, local self-government implies the transference of the power to the rule of the lowest rungs of the political order. It is a form of democratic decentralization where the participation of even the grassroots level of the society is ensured in the process of administration. The conceptualization of the system of local self-government in India took place through the formation and effort of four important committees from the year 1957 to 1986. First important committee is the Balwant Rai Mehta Committee, and the committee had recommended a three-tier system of rural local government, that is village panchayat at the village level, the panchayat samiti at the intermediate level and the Zilla Parishad at the district level, with Panchayat Samiti being the most effective body. And another committee which deserves the special mention in the evolution of rural local government in India is the Ashok Mehta Committee. Third committee is GVK Rao Committee and fourth committee is LM Singhvi Committee. And here is a flowchart that shows that how local self-government is divided between two parts, rural local self-governments and second is urban aerial local self-government. And this flowchart shows that how decentralization works and how all these institutions have different functions and works and how power is divided between all these institutions. So first of all, we will understand about the rural local self-government. The rural local self-government in India is also described as Panchayati Raj. Panchayati Raj institutions are institutionalized pan-Indian form of rural local governance that came into existence with the passage of 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1992. The act has heralded a three-tier structure of rural local governance. First, Gram Panchayat at the bottom level, second, Panchayat Samiti at the intermediate level, and third, Zilla Parishad at the highest level. The 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act has clearly devolved power, authority, and responsibilities to rural local bodies to enable them to function as institutions of self-government. The 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act has made it mandatory for all levels of Panchayati Raj institutions to conduct period elections every 5 years. In case of early or premature dismissal of Panchayati Raj institutions, elections are to be held within a period of 6 months with the newly elected members serving out the remainder of the 5-year term, and it is mentioned in Article 243 Part E. The Act has also made provisions for the reservation of seats for SC/ST in all panchayats at all levels in proportion to their respective shares in panchayat concerned. In addition to that, the Act has also made mandatory reservation of 1/3 of all seats in all panchayat at all levels for women, of which 1/3 to be reserved for the women belonging to ST and SCs. The constitutional provision for the reservation of seats for SC and ST also extends to position of panchayat chairperson at all three tiers, and one-third mandatory reservation is earmarked for them. The Act has stipulated the constitution of a state-level election commission for a period of 5 years to ensure free and fair elections in local bodies. The Act has also empowered the state government to constitute another independent state-level commission, that is the Finance Commission, for a 5-year review of the overall financial position of local bodies and recommend principles that should govern the allocation of funds and taxation authority to local bodies. The governor of state is entrusted with the power of constituting the Financial Commission, which will review the financial position of panchayats and make recommendation thereon to the governor. The Act has also made provision for the constitution of Gram Sabha, the body of electorate of the Gram Panchayats and established a more direct channel of people's participation. The underlying rationale was the Gram Sabha would function as a fulcrum of developmental process where the community would participate both at formulation and the implementation of development plans. Moreover, this body would function as organs of local accountability and oversight. The 11th schedule, Article 243G, has been added, which gives the list of 29 functions to be performed by Panchayati Raj institutions. First, Gram Panchayat. It works at the village level. It is formed in a village which has minimum population, or else two or more villages are clubbed together. Sarpanch is the head of Gram Panchayat. He supervises and implements the resolutions passed by the Gram Panchayat. In his absence, Deputy Sarpanch looks after the affairs of the village. The functions of Gram Panchayat includes looking after the basic amenities of the village. Gram Sevak is appointed by Zilla Parishad to carry out the routine work of Gram Panchayat. And second is about Panchayat Samiti. The Panchayat Samiti is formed at the Taluka level. Every Panchayat Samiti is headed by the chairperson. In the absence of chairperson, the deputy chairperson performs his functions. The Block Development Officer (BDO) is the executive head of the Panchayat Samiti. He is appointed by the state government. And the third is the Zilla Parishad. It is a local government body at the district level. It looks after the administration of rural areas in a district. The members of Parishad are elected by the people for the term of 5 years. Some seats are reserved for the SC, ST, OBC and women. The president and vice president are elected for the term of 2.5 years. The chief executive officer is appointed by the state government through Indian Administrative Services. The main functions of Zilla Parishad include providing of facilities and initiating development programs for the rural people. It houses between committees like finance, education, health, agriculture, child welfare, animal husbandry, public works, water supply and irrigation, etc. And this was all about the rural local self-government. Now we will head to the urban local self-government. Urban local self-government implies the governance of an urban area by the people through their elected representatives. 74th Constitutional Amendment Act in 1992 provided constitutional status to local urban bodies. And first is Nagar Panchayat for a transitional area between a rural and urban area. Second is Municipal Council for a small urban area. And third is Municipal Corporation for a large urban area. In 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, there are certain provisions, and major provisions are urban local bodies to be known as municipal corporation, municipal councils and Nagar Panchayat depending on the population shall be constituted through universal adult franchisee in each notified urban area of the country. These shall be constituted for a period of 5 years. Not less than 1/3 of total number of seats in each urban local body shall be reserved for women. These bodies shall be endowed with power and authority to formulate and implement schemes for economic development and social justice on 18 subjects. In order that the urban local bodies can perform the functional assigned to them, the legislature of a state shall assign them specific taxes, duties, tolls and levies and authorize them to impose, collect and appropriate the same. And the first is municipal corporation. Municipal corporation are created for the administration of big cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad and others. A municipal corporation has 3 authorities, namely the council, the standing committee and the commissioner. And the council consists of councillors directly elected by people and is headed by a mayor, while the commissioner is appointed by state government, generally an IAS officer. Second is municipal council. The smaller cities are looked after by municipal councils. When the cities grow in size of population, it is transformed under the administration of municipal corporations. The council members are elected by the people for the term of 5 years. President and Vice President are elected by the member of the council for the term of 2.5 years. The President is honored as the first citizen of the town. Each council has among its appointed staff one executive officer and its subordinate staff and nominated selected citizens of the town. And the third is Nagar Panchayat. The composition and functions of Nagar Panchayat are similar to municipal councils. Nagar Panchayats are established in those rural areas to be soon transformed into urban. Nagar Panchayat is formed according to the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. And let's understand that what is the duration of local government bodies. The local governing bodies are elected for a term of 5 years. Fresh elections should be conducted before the expiry of the 5 years term. If the panchayat or municipality is dissolved before the expiry of its term, elections shall be conducted within 6 months and the new panchayat or municipality will hold office for the remainder of the term if the term has more than 6 months duration, and for another 5 years if the remaining time is less than 6 months. Summary: to conclude, local self-government is one of the most innovative governance change processes our country has gone through. The noble idea of taking the government of a country into the hands of the grassroots level is indeed praiseworthy. However, like any system in the world, this system is also imperfect. Problems of maladministration and misappropriation of funds are recurring, and there is no clear-cut demarcation of power functions and responsibilities between rural and urban local bodies on the one hand and the state government on the other part in Part 9th and 9th A of the Constitution. And the lack of clarity with regard to tax assignment and expenditure responsibilities is also another major shortcoming of the Acts. It was argued that, but this shall not stand in the way of efficient governance, and if these ill practices are rooted out, there would be no comparison around the world to our system of local self-government. Thank you.